and welcome everyone. This is DEJI360. I am DEJI360. Now, in May this year, the National Assembly, that is the Nigerian Parliament, passed the State of the Nation Address Bill and sent it to the President for his assent. Essentially, the bill requires the President to mandatorily address a joint sitting of both the House of Representatives and the Senate on the State of the Nation every 30 days at the beginning of every legislative year, which, by the way, is July. Simple request, you want to say, but not that simple. The President did not give his assent to the bill. He returned it to the lawmakers, proposing a counter-amendment. First, he argued that the bill was not necessary, pointing out that Section 67 of the country's constitution had already dealt with the issue. Second, he said it should not be mandatory for him to give the address, arguing that he should be free to delegate the assignment to his deputy, that's the Vice President, or simply send the text of his speech to the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the President of the Senate. He also had issues with the timing of the address, proposing that it should be given within 30 days of the commencement of each legislative year. Now, that's just a summary of the proposal the President sent back to the National Assembly. The issue is that the House of Representatives is yet to debate the President's proposal, but the Senate has done so. And there was a firestorm when that debate took place in the Senate. In fact, some senators almost came to blows on the floor of the House. Now, I should say the Senate this time, when they had that debate. We want to take a listen now to what some of the senators had to say about the President's action.
This is a very ripe case for the National Assembly to take a resolution and ask for the Supreme Court to interpret just this one question. The question is, when a bill is passed by the National Assembly and presented to Mr. President, can the President make any amendments to it, or is it just to sign or withhold assent? It is not declaring a dispute, but it will help, it will help the legislature.
This bill is to ask him to come and make a national presentation. Now, if he's making some observation, I don't think Mr. President is out of place for us as Democrats to take the consideration of those, or to view those recommendations coming from him to this as an input. Yes, the bill has been passed by us, but Mr. President, the law is made by us. The law didn't make us. So I think, Mr. President, the fundamental issue is that the President is not against this bill, and as long as the President is not against the bill, the concept and spirit of the bill, if it is the content, and Mr. President, if you take a look at it, he's only asking for a leadway. He said within 30 days, instead of us giving him a deadline for presentation.
We're Democrats, and we solve all the problems by talking, not by boxing. And in any case, for the first time in 14 years, I've seen an effort for people to pull out boxing gloves. It's never necessary. We must never do it, please. We're distinguished senators and we're elder statesmen. We can do all the talking, but we should never resort into boxing.
Well, the Senate President had to step into that debate just to calm frayed nerves, I should say, but quite a passionate one. We want to see what happens in the House of Representatives when it opens debate on the President's proposal. Joining us on the phone now from Lagos is Professor Ishe Sage, who wants to weigh in on this issue. Professor Sage, we want to thank you very much for joining us on the program. Tell us, Professor Sage, what exactly is your view on what took place in the Senate?
Well, as usual, the National Assembly tends to like to live in the darkness and carry on as if they have no legal assistance in whatever they are doing. Now, the provision is very clear. The President under Section 67 has the discretion, one, whether to give a State of the Nation address or not. Two, if he decides to give it on what subject, it may not even be on State of the Nation. It could be on any policy issue. It could be on any fiscal issue. So it's a very loose provision. nullity. That's the first.
But let me ask you, Prof, what would you say to some people who have argued that one of the reasons the Senate had to take this decision, or the National Assembly had to come up with this bill, is just because, as you pointed out, that Section 67 has already made provision for, you know, the president to go in there and address a joint sitting of the National Assembly. The problem is that they say, and that's what some people have said, that the president has not exercised that discretion in the past. That, as a matter of fact, he's shunned addressing a joint sitting of the National Assembly on a national issue other than coming to present the nation's budget.
That is his perfect legitimate right. I started by saying Section 7 gives him absolute discretion. He says he may, which means he may not. And he says even if he decides to do so, it can be on any topic. It may not even be on the state of the nation. So the way the Constitution is now, there's no way any bill can be passed to compel him to give a state of the nation address at any time. Not even to say, I immediately start the first thing.
But what the...
They are doing is just, as I say, it's a leap in the dark.
No, but what the lawmakers are doing, is it not a process to amend that section of the Constitution? Is this not a process to amend? Are they not trying to amend that section of the Constitution so that it makes it mandatory, takes away the discretion of the president, makes it mandatory for him to come to address the National Assembly?
No, it's not an amendment of the section. What they have done is to pass an ordinary bill, which if it had been signed by the president would be an act. So it cannot amend what is in the Constitution. It cannot alter what's in the Constitution. It's a futile gesture.
But let me just ask you this finally, Prof. Don't you think the National Assembly has the right, the National Assembly now representing the people of Nigeria, has a right to ask the president to come and address the nation on, you know, any subject it deems necessary? Hello, Prof. Well, obviously, I think we lost Professor Ishiasagi there. But what Prof is saying is that the president is very much in line. Do not forget, the president sent back that bill to the National Assembly saying he was not going to sign it and that it's a mere duplication of Section 67 of the Constitution, which already provides that the president once in a while goes to the National Assembly to address the members there, senators and House of Representative members, on any issue at all, any issue pertaining to the nation. But let me just say this, that earlier on the program, we had the former Senate Deputy Minority Leader here, and we asked him, that's Senator Lawrence Mamora, we asked him what he makes of what took place in the Senate and if the president actually was right in not signing the bill into law and sending it back to the National Assembly. Well, thank you very much, Senator Mamora, for joining us on the program. Let me start by asking you, are you surprised at what is happening in the Senate today? When you were there in the Senate, did this kind of thing ever happen, where the president had to return a bill to the Senate and then propose his own amendments?
Not that I can remember now. I can't readily remember a particular incident like that. I can't remember.
But in your opinion, is it out of place for the president to have done what he did?
I think yes and no. Yes, because I don't know what to say, unfortunately. When you look at the Senate rules, standing orders of the Senate, 2011 as amended, Section 88 there gives that window for Mr. President to do what he has done.
And that's exactly what the Senate President was trying to say on the floor.
When he was saying that, well, we seem to have boxed ourselves into a corner. So it's the Senate rule that will appear to have given that window to Mr. President, which he then, exploited. But that's on the yes side. But no, because constitutionally, what the Constitution says is that once the bill has been forwarded to him, he should just signify his intention to sign or not to sign. That's all. That's what it's a closed-ended option, if you like, for him to just indicate or signify that he's signing or he's not signing, not to now come up with amendments. That's legislative function and not an executive function.
Let us look at some of the issues the president raised. For instance, he said something about the bill. He talked about Section 67 of the Constitution, and he says this bill is basically a duplication of Section 67 of the Constitution. What's your take on that?
I disagree. It is not a duplication, per se. Yes,
because Section 67 actually talks about the president coming to address the joint sitting of the National Assembly
right of attendance.
On any national issue.
Right of attendance. That's Section 67 of the Nigerian Constitution. Yes, right of attendance. But if you look at that section, Section 67, subsection 1, that is the one that concerns the president. If you read it carefully, what is, that power of right of attendance conferred on Mr. President to address the joint session on any issue of national importance is discretionary. That is, if he so considers, and that is the discretionary thing. But what the Senate has tried to do is to now compel, because...
And that is where the president has a problem too.
Yes. Now, the issue is this. The issue is this. It will appear to me that in the wisdom of the Senate is saying that it will appear that, Mr. President has not diligently or sufficiently exercised that discretion.
In the past?
In the past, of course. Then let me remind you, you recall that at a point in time, because there had been so many issues which the National Assembly as a whole, not just the Senate, had expected Mr. President to address the joint session on. Issues of security, particularly the Boko Haram, social upheavals, even economic issues, which the President failed to do. And you recall that at a point, the House of Representatives even summoned, quote unquote, summoned Mr. President to appear, to address it on the security concerns raised by members. So when you look at all this, I'm feeling that, I have a feeling very strongly that it is the totality of this that's now pushed, as it were, the Senate to coming up with a bill which, when it becomes a law, will now compel, as you should now make it mandatory as opposed to being discretionary.
There's something else the president said in his reply to the Senate that I want you to, react to. He said, for instance, that it shouldn't be mandatory for him personally to come present this address, that the clause should be rewritten in such a way that he could delegate that assignment to his deputy, that's the vice president, or simply just send the text, transmit the text now to the Speaker of the House of Representatives and the Senate President. I
absolutely disagree with the President with all due respect on that issue. Because, look, even the Constitution, which, that's Section 67, subsection 1, which Mr. President feels that, it's a duplication, quote unquote, of the bill, State of the Nation Address bill, that is a duplication of that Section 67, does not give the Vice President that power. To
address.
To address. The power is given to Mr. President and Mr. President only. So Mr. President cannot be saying now that he now wants to delegate that power. No. It gives that power strictly to Mr. President, right of attendance. It does not say that Mr. President could delegate or in his no. It's discretionary, and I'm not aware in any other democracy where this thing holds, like in America, in South Africa, and other. I am not aware of any situation, any circumstance where the vice president now goes ahead. So it's in conformity with what you can call international democratic best practices.
Some other thing. The president also raised the issue of, you know, this completely being against the spirit of separation of powers. That you know, that the Senate, the National Assembly, as it were, should not be so empowered to summon the president to address the nation on a subject, because the president argued that what the bill has basically done is to give the National Assembly the power not just to summon him, but to also decide what he will talk on, the subject, what the topic of the national issue should be, and at what time, the particular time with which he must come to address, because that's also, the issue of timing is also part of it. The president wants it to take place within 30 days of the first legislative year. And the Senate, the National Assembly, I should say, is insisting on say, every 30 days of the first sitting of the National Assembly.
Look, you see, irrespective of the reservations of Mr. President, I'm happy that Mr. President himself, too, has come up with the doctrine or the principle of separation of powers. Good. Now, the first thing to say is that separation of powers that we talk about is not and cannot be absolute in a democracy. In fact, rather what happens for the good of the people is interdependence, as opposed to absolute, which cannot even be separation of powers. Having said that, again, what Mr. President ought to have done, as far as I'm concerned, is to sign that bill. Because the lawmaking function is primarily that of the legislature and not that of executive. That is not to say that you don't have instances where even other arms of the government, apart from the legislature, can make laws. Yes, we have, because a judicial pronouncement, particularly at the apex court, is a law. So the judiciary can be a lawmaking body, you know, under that circumstance. You know, again, you have what we call delegated function, delegated legislation to the executive and all that. Yeah. Right. Now, but the point really that I'm making is that if you look at Section 4 of the Constitution, which talks of, you know, legislative power, it says you know, the legislative power, you know, conferred on the National Assembly, you know, shall be for peace, order, and good government. That's what it says. So if in the opinion of the legislature, and in this circumstance, if in the opinion of the National Assembly, they feel that this particular legislation is for the cause of peace, order, and good government, but let it be. Let it be. And of course, again, back to the issue of separation of powers. It now behoves on Mr. President, if he feels a particular legislation is in conflict with the provision of the Constitution, he is not the one to, you cannot be a judge in your own court. He should refer it to the judiciary through the court. And that's not, and that won't be the first time. I can remind you, the Electoral Act of 2003, which Mr. President, then Obasanjo, refused to sign and was returned. Invariably, the National Assembly passed it. But unfortunately, they passed it by a 2/3 majority of members present and sitting, as opposed to 2/3 of the entire National Assembly. And of course, the Supreme Court quashed the thing.
Do you see this going to court?
That is, look, now, that is what... That's,
and I should also ask you that, how do you see this playing out in the Senate? Do you think the Senate will go ahead to override the president's veto, so to speak, on this?
Well, that is now left for the Senate, you know, the National Assembly as a whole. You see, that is where I'm going. what are the options available? The first option is for the president, as far as I'm concerned. Unfortunately, I think we have gone beyond that now because he has said, he has returned the thing unsigned. But I would have expected, what I would have said is for Mr. President to sign it. Sign it to law in spite of his reservations. And then now we can forward a bill with his proposed amendments.
Okay.
Okay? That's the first. The second is for him to sign it into law and then go to the Supreme Court to challenge that law.
Even after signing?
Oh, of course, because you can't put something on nothing. You now be challenging a law that is in existence. You can't be challenging a
law that is not in existence. That is quite true.
Then the third thing now is where he has failed to explore these first two options. Of course, the ball is now in the court of the National Assembly. If the National Assembly still feels, if they are still adamant on going ahead, it's just for the National Assembly to get its members and pass the thing by 2/3 majority, where irrespective of the feelings of Mr. President, it becomes a law. Mr. President can still go to court if he so desires, but I don't see Mr. President really, winning, quote and unquote, on this issue, because for as long as the National Assembly is adamant, it will get its members to override Mr. President's veto.
Should this even generate any controversy at all? This is just a bill asking the president to come and address the nation.
This is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. That, look, the National Assembly has a duty conferred on it by the Constitution to make laws for peace, order, and good government. And this is one of such, in the opinion and in the wisdom of the National Assembly, which is one of such legislation that, it has put in place, which Mr. President now is feeling that, no, I don't want to sign it. Ordinarily, because that's why I said the framers of the Constitution saw the need for this and put it under Section 67, right of attendance, where Mr. President will now come to address issues of national importance. But Mr. President has not taken advantage. That's why I said it's either out of frustration and out of a feeling of alienation of the people that the members of the National Assembly represent. Either any of these reasons or a combination of these factors would have compelled, as it were, the National Assembly to now come up with a legislation that will now make it mandatory as opposed to discretionary, because the National Assembly in its wisdom felt that that discretion given, because if you're given a discretion, it is expected that you will exercise that discretion diligently, sufficiently, responsibly. But if, on the other hand, that people is somehow, somewhere along the line, people feel that the discretion has not been exercised as appropriate, then there may be need to now put something that will make it mandatory.
Well, we want to thank you very much, Senator Mamora, the former Deputy Minority Leader of the Senate, for talking to us on DEJI360. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Well, the former Deputy Senate Minority Leader, Senator Olorunniyi Mamora, speaking to us there on the issue of the state of the nation. We'll take a short break now, and when we come back, we'll switch gears to focus now on the issue of the strike by ASU, that's the Academic Staff Union of Universities, as well as Polytechnic Workers, that's the Senior Staff Union of Nigerian Polytechnics, as well as the Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics. Both of them are on strike. The students are home. We want to find out why exactly these lecturers and workers are on strike. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back. The news came like a bolt out of the blues for university students who were preparing to take their examination. Even the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU for short, did not give any warning at all. Not minding the fact that polytechnics across the country are shut down because of another strike action by staff of polytechnics, ASU called its members out on yet another strike action. Yes, yet another strike action, because it is arguably the union that has gone on strike the most in Nigeria. Hardly has the union not called a strike action under past regimes in this country. This time, the powerful union says the failure of the federal government to implement a memorandum of understanding it signed with the government is to blame for the latest action. Somehow, it seems strike action is the only language the government understands. For now, though, academic activities in public universities across the country have grounded to a halt. Students are beginning to leave for home, not knowing when the strike will be called up. It's really a bad time for some who were just about to begin their exams before the strike began. Take a listen now to what some of the students have been saying.
Well, to be sincere, looking at it from the objective perspective, if I'm to say that the effects of us strike on students, especially, you agree with me, it's something that is devastating. But the fact that students' lectures are being disrupted and the likes, and our academic calendar will definitely be disrupted. So on that aspect, I think it is affecting us negatively. But looking at it from the perspective of a concerned Nigeria, I would take the moves by the lecturer, so to say, as something to demand. I would pitch my tent with them in that they are demanding for their rights.
So you think this is a right approach?
Well, you agree with me that in every society and in every environment, there are different approaches to address different issues. The only language the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria understands is strike actions.
Although when you look at the fundamental aim, as I heard them say, they say it's to promote educational institutions, to enhance infrastructure as for the institutions. Yeah, although the ideas are lofty, but the issue now is that the sacrifices to be made. For instance, now, as law students, final year students are meant to go to law school very soon, and as a result, they're meant to do their final exam even before the university as a whole begins its exam. This definitely would no doubt affect them, and I don't think the law school would understand the fact that universities have to go on strike or have to stop. So what I'm saying in essence is that, yeah, there is a lofty goal to be attained, but it's going to be injurious to some other interest. And should they not make it at this point in time to the law school, it's like a delay waiting for probably another year or something. So in my view, as much as I think the strike is necessary, but I think it's a matter of balancing interest. And more importantly, I think these lecturers and so they are also advocating their own interests. And as much as they're advocating the interests of the universities at large, but they're also advocating, but they should balance the interests. Because in everything you do in life, you balance interest. And looking at the utilitarian principle, you choose the one that is more beneficial. That's my view.
I think the strike is coming at a time when it's not supposed to be, because right now, less than 30 days to our second semester exam, and we are all in the mood of preparation, and so I think the strike will just destroy so many things, having prepared, ready for the exam, and considering the fact that our final year students, they are preparing to write their exam so that they can proceed to the Nigerian law school. So I think the strike shouldn't be at the time now.
Quite sad indeed. Joining me now on the program is Dr. Ogenekaro Ogbinaka. He is the chairman of the University of Lagos chapter of ASU. Dr. Ogbinaka, thank you very much for coming on the program. You heard some of your students there. What would be your reaction to that student, for instance, who said there should be some kind of balancing act by ASU and that you didn't do it? And
I will want to commend the students. At least they show some form of understanding. Balancing act. A few of the students will not appreciate...
Students getting ready to take their exam, final exam?
We're going to encapsulate all that. We are coming from a background that the students today may not appreciate, because this is something that started since 2000, thereabouts. This is the second agreement we are entering with the government. We had one in 1999, and we had all these struggles. You can see the quality of students we have today. It's a product of the university system. It was worse before, where students were learning under trees. They were learning from the windows. All that are gone. It's all due to ASU's struggle. We are moving to the hostels. If you go to some of our hostels, they are in a better place now. It was all due to ASU's struggle. And you talk about final year students preparing for exam. The academic system is a circle. If you are a year one student in law and there's a protracted strike, it's going to affect you.
Because he just said law school doesn't understand that.
So there is no way,
Private
but law school is fed from public schools. And now private schools, private schools, good. But the standard is public schools. If you look at intake from JAMB, you will discover that the high-scoring candidates, they go to public schools. So when you look at the JAMB choice of JAMB, we still have the best in public schools.
But why, couldn't ASU have waited for all of this?
Now the benchmark
to have gone.
You see, it's a circle. Let me put it this way. University of Lagos, we have fairly regular calendar. You see, so you can see where they are speaking from. There are some universities that are in mid-semester. Some are already doing exams. You know, so the calendar is not the same. But when ASU is taking a decision of about 53 universities, we want to take it globally. So you cut in between. Some universities are on vacation. We won't say that, look, let us wait for them to come from vacation before we embark on a strike. We have been having regular meetings with government. Regular meetings. NUC is represented, the minister is represented, the secretary to the federal government is represented. And the thinking is that, look, if we've been having these meetings and there is need for us to take a decision, we have to take the decision. But people sometimes don't know that even government itself have not faltered
let
the
me ask you,
2001
why exactly
agreement.
are you on strike now, for instance?
Now, we are on strike for just one reason. Just one reason. Implementation of a document. The 2001 federal government agreement. Now, when we called off the strike in December 2011, it was based on the fact that the government said that, look, this is let us look at the short run and the long run of this document. And both parties sat down and came out with a memorandum of understanding that within the short run, we're going to do the following. Within that short run, government did only one thing, which is changing the law of professors retiring at the age of 70, which was actually a sacrifice the union made. Because at the age of 65, a professor is supposed to collect his salary for life. But we now said, if we are going to save the university system, we should retain these people to provide academic leadership for the faculties. And government just changed that law. But you see, but I want to put it this way. You have a patient that is sick. They say, go for diagnosis, go for tests, you go for treatment. After treatment, you go for physiotherapy. You all agree that it's okay. Now, you have to fight for the diagnosis to be carried out. When it's carried out, you have to fight for its reports to be implemented. You have to fight for the drug session. You have to fight for... So you begin to wonder that, look...
Another thing I want to ask you is, couldn't you have given some kind of notice before embarking on this strike? Say, you know, some people give notice. That if you had given some kind of notice, say a week or two notice, so that those who were writing their exams would probably hasten up to conclude. And
notice. We have a minister.
This came out of the
We have a minister of labor and productivity. When we called off the strike in 2011, we used the word suspended. That strike was suspended. And in spite of that, we had a warning strike. We went for a referendum. And so, you see, strike is not the type of thing union leadership or union themselves want to embark on. They don't like it.
Yeah, but, you don't like it, but
it's like war.
It's on record. You've gone on strike for...
It's like war. And you see, it's two things. Sometimes you want to say that as to what you are fighting for is what every Nigerian should fight for. But this is our sector. If other people want their sector to be destroyed, definitely not the university sector.
What exactly would make you call off the strike now?
This strike there is some minimum which we have at the MOU.
The
at
minimum,
the MOU.
That's it.
We want that MOU to be sincerely implemented.
What is the minimum?
Now, the minimum is, they are all stated in the MOU that the government should systematically move to 26%, the minimum benchmark provided by UNESCO for education. Right now, we are talking about something that is less than 5%. Ghana is moving towards 40%. They should go to look at other developed countries.
Okay, move to 26%.
Now there is the issue of earned allowances.
That's the 12,500.
No, the earned allowance is not just that. It's about that we're talking about just monthly something for what we call responsibility allowance. There's PG supervision allowance. There is field trip allowances. There is clinical duty allowances. All these ones, government have not paid any of them. There is examination officers allowances, course advisor allowances. Well, no, I mean, you can't go to any university, you will not see people having course advisor. Then there is excess workload allowance, because we're not supposed to, like in Faculty of Arts, you're not supposed to interact with, I think, about 50 students. But sometimes our classes are as large as 150.
That's quite true.
So, government, either you employ more hands, or you just admit only 50.
But do you concede that all of the strikes...
These allowances were there before even the agreement. What was done was just to increase it in the light of the economy. And we just felt that it was not proper.
But do you concede that all of the strikes, you're on strike, I mean, ASU is on strike, the Polytechnic lecturers are on strike, that all of these strikes is doing too much damage to the education system?
It indicates one thing. We have crisis in the system, and it should be addressed. In 1960, as far back as that time, all over declared state of emergency in the education sector. And you can see where the West is today. 3 things are key to every family in Nigeria. Is my family well fed? Is anybody sick at home? What of the children's education? Is it proper? And these 3 things amount to agric, health, and education. No nation makes an inch towards developing without taking care of these 3 things. And we will have thought that these things will have been a priori to the government in terms of priority. But it's so shocking. It's like children telling their parents, send me to school, send me to good school, feed us. It's so shocking. So that is Nigeria for you. And we want to make sure that it's a continuous struggle.
Have you commenced talks with the federal government?
I wouldn't know. At the national level, they will have a team that is doing that. And also is highly democratic. Once talks have commenced, they will give us feedback. So we get, but for now, we've not gotten any feedback. Now, you know, the strike is just less than a week.
Less than a week, and let's just hope it doesn't drag on for another 1 month.
Well, it's an indefinite strike action, so we just kept our minds open.
At least feel for your students.
We are working for the students.
Well, feel for your students anyway.
That is because we are working for the students.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ogbinaka, for talking to us on the program. Thank you very much for your time.
You're welcome.
And let's just hope, you know, the federal government meets, as you said, the minimum of your demands so that you can just call off the strike and the students can come back, write their exam, and then...
It's a continuous struggle. I think, I'm not sure anybody, none of the parties are really comfortable with what is on.
None of the parties are really comfortable with what is happening. Well, we'll take another break now. When we come back, like universities, like polytechnics, for over 2 months now, the country's polytechnic students have been at home, courtesy of a strike action by their lecturers and other staff. Again, we'll try to find out why. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's been about 3 months now since lecturers and other staff of the 68 public polytechnics across Nigeria embarked on an indefinite strike action in protest over a wide range of issues. At the heart of the issues, it says, is the government's refusal to implement an agreement it signed with the various polytechnic unions. This is in addition to poor funding, discrimination against poly graduates, and so much more. And so, for almost 3 months now, the students have been idling away at home, hoping and waiting for the suspension of the strike action so they could all return to school. But then some are beginning to get tired of waiting and are now making their voices already heard by protesting on the streets of Lagos. We caught up with this group of protesting Polytechnic students recently somewhere in Lagos. Listen to what they had to say.
The government to come and to listen to us, because it is our right to have free education. It is not a privilege. Yes. It's our demands. We say no to commercialization of education in any ramification. Yes. We say no to underfunding of education system, but to meet with the 26% budgetary allocation as recommended by UNESCO. Yes. We say no to brutalization of students by the Nigerian forces. Yes. We are not at anybody. We are fighting for our own rights. We don't concern about any. They should reconcile with the lecturers. They should come back to classes and lecture us. I'm a final year student of Yabatech, and I should be preparing for my NYSC camp now. Yes. I've spent good 5 years in the college doing nothing. Yes. And what a student that went to university for just 4 years will be rated above me in the labor market. We say no to that. Yes. We have the right. We are students. BSc, we are all students. BSc and HND discrimination should end. Yeah.
Now, to shed some light on why they are on strike, I'm now being joined on the program by Mr. Austin Oko, the chairman of the Senior Staff Union of Nigerian Polytechnics, SANIP for short. Mr. Oko, thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you.
This is, some would say this is one strike too many. Why exactly are you on strike? We keep hearing the word Contis, compass or whatever it is. Why exactly are you on strike?
Thank you, DG. There are a number of issues, and these issues date back to years now. And that's why we are thinking that it's just as you said, one strike too many. It is the only time that we have to fight this fight. If we don't do it now, we don't achieve it, that is just all. The issue of Contis 15 has been on for about 5 years now.
And what exactly is this Contis 15?
Contis is a salary structure, consolidated tertiary institution salary structure.
Oh, I see.
Contis. It moved the salary scale from 14. Before now, we used to have Hattis. So it moved Hattis. Hattis stopped at 14. Now we now have Contis 15, moving it to 15. It came into effect 2007. And then the government did not cash back it until 2009. Up till now, the arrears accruing therefrom has not been paid to workers. What happened was that in 2009, October to be precise, MBTE rolled out a transition modality for implementation of Contis 15, but it only covered those on 12 and above. Contis 12 and above. So what we're now asking, those who are below 12, from 1 to 11, they were not captured. But when they were preparing the budget, all of us were captured.
Okay.
So that is just one. So what we're asking is that the government, both the Office of the Head of Service and MBT, should release the circular for the full implementation of Contis.
There's a question because, you know, we've covered the series of protests you have organized, and this issue of Contis 15 keeps coming up. Tell me, I know Contis 15 is not the only reason you're on strike. I mean, you've also identified other issues. But it appears Contis 15 is the basic reason, it's at the heart of your strike now.
Yes,
am I correct?
It is. Yeah, very, very correct. As I said, it's just one of them.
So the issue of discrimination against poly students, the issue of poor funding for polytechnics, and all of that, those are just like, well, those are just add-ons, so to speak. Your main issue, if the federal government today decides to implement Contis 15, you're going to come back.
It's not only Contis 15. It's not only Contis 15.
Okay.
There is this agreement that was signed between the unions, between the universities and polytechnics and college education in 2009. They are due for review since last year, 2012. Up till now, the federal government has not constituted the team, the panel, for the review of that agreement. So we are asking that government should do that. The other issue again is IPPIS, we call it, is an introduction by the federal government. IPPIS, Integrated Personnel and Payroll Information System. What that simply means is that they want to be preparing our salaries direct from Abuja. Centralized salary payment.
Before now, what's been the
before
system?
Now, your institution would organize, government will fund, and then you are paid by your institution, from Yabatech, for instance.
So you would prefer that your payroll is prepared from Abuja?
Yes, it's better, because the issue is that when you have issues of short payment and all that, you find your way to Abuja. And then because of the peculiarity of the polytechnic system, there's this issue of accreditation. Accreditation is a compulsory tax for every institution, whether polytechnic or institution. When the polytechnic MBT or AUC is coming for accreditation, you need to have the personnel, you need to have the facilities, you need to have everything. And so institutions need to prepare towards accreditation, for instance. And so if you are getting your salary from Abuja, it will not be captured. Accreditation will not be captured. So we are saying, no, leave the polytechnics alone, let them do what they are doing. Let us prepare our accreditation and other things that we are doing. Already, the universities have been exempted because of these peculiarities I mentioned. Let the polytechnics be exempted also. The scheme of service which governs the polytechnics, the workers, is 27 years old. It's very obsolete. It has been revised. It's just for the government to approve the new scheme of service. The universities, sir, have their own commission, NUC. Colleges of education have their own commission. Nomadic education have their own commission. Polytechnics have been under the apron stream of MBT. And we have been on this thing over 5 years now. We are asking government to please give us our own commission. The other issue of funding, of course, it may be urgent, but it's very, very important. Go to our institutions now. See the decadence. Go to the hostels, go to the labs, go to the studios. Everything is in shambles. Unfortunately, rather than...
Why? The question is, why did you have to wait until this time to raise all these issues?
We have been raising it. Every time we go for a meeting, we keep hammering on this, but government is not taking us seriously. And that's why we feel that this is the best time to look at all these issues. You cannot, if the government is taking the polytechnic serious, you cannot be talking about reducing their budgetary allocation. What we have this year is that the budgetary allocation has been reduced. Seriously.
And that the issue of budgetary allocation is one very...
It's one
it's
very,
very
very,
issue,
yes.
because you are saying, for instance, the union has come out to say the universities appear to be getting a huge chunk of the education's budget, and you know, just what is going to the polytechnics, peanuts.
Very significant, very significant, very, very significant. So we're asking that government should please look at that issue. It is very serious if they want the polytechnics to survive. And also this issue of discrimination. We have been on this issue, government keeps saying this and doing another.
The issue of discrimination I need to understand, because I mean, from what I have gathered so far, coming from your organization, your union, it's like you have two levels of discrimination. Discrimination against the lecturers and workers of polytechnics, you know, and then discrimination against the students as well. Could you just expatiate on the discrimination now?
Discrimination, yes, I think the major one really, you have discrimination everywhere, but the one that is most pertinent is this one against our products.
Oh, I see.
The polytechnics
produce
these people. And then you have, last year we have one of the telecom companies making it clear in the advert that holders of HND should not bother to apply. A bank, one of the first
You're very
banks,
sure this
yes,
happened?
yes. One of the banks also advertised last year and put it in the advert that they don't want HND holders. So where do you want them to go to? All of us can't go to the university. The universities have their own mandate. The polytechnics have their own mandate. So what is the government now doing? If we cannot sit down and watch our products
so what exactly would you want the government to do in that regard?
The ceiling, there are two levels now. At the point of appointment, our products are being discriminated against. Sometimes even within the system, those who are working, if I have BA Igbo language or French language, and you have HND, what now happens is that with HND, the ceiling, the promotion ends at a particular level. But with BA, I can get to become the registrar of that institution. But with HND, you can never. So the issue now is that...
Is that a state policy or something?
That's what, it's not supposed to be a state policy as it were. But this thing has been on over time. And we want this thing addressed. Because
no, the reason I'm asking you if it's a state policy, because if it's not a state policy, then the government is not to blame for that.
It's not a state policy, as it were. It is not. What you have is that over time, it has been like that. And government has not paid serious attention to this thing. And we're saying this is the right time to look at it. We've been on, as I said. But the issue is that they will tell you HND holder is equivalent to degree.
Sure. And
but in practice, that is not what we are seeing. And so you now discover that our products are treated as second-class citizens within the labor market.
And that's quite sad.
And it's not too good. So where do you want them to go? So the implication now is that even if a HND holder is far, far better than a degree holder, he doesn't get anything. So in this era of unemployment and all that, where do our products go to? And so if we keep keeping quiet and all that, then we now discover that we'll keep producing products, graduates, who are not even fit for the market.
But are you not supposed to be producing products who are supposed to create employment, so to speak?
We agree. We really agree.
Because that's actually the mandate.
Yes, we agree. Yeah. But all of us cannot create market. You cannot just finish today and begin to create this thing. Probably you need to get some experiences here and there. You need to be employed, gather some experience before setting up somewhere, But when it now gets to you, because anywhere you go, they say you have to have experience and all that, you need to start from somewhere. But with this discrimination that we are having, our products are not getting anywhere. So that is why we are having that fear that, look, if we don't address, and we have been on this issue, but government is just paying lip service to it. They've not really taken it seriously.
For how long are you ready to hold out on this strike? For as long as I think everything is in the hands of the government. Once they play the game, I think we are not enjoying the strike. Nobody wakes up and says, yes, we are going to go on strike. Even when this strike that we did, we were feeling maybe it was 1 week or two and to be over. But government has not shown enough commitment as far as this strike is concerned. It's just recently, last month, they had a meeting with the Executive Secretary MBTE, who now gave assurance that, yes, they are doing something. The circular on consultation will be ready. Since 2 weeks now, it's not been out. They had meetings also, very fruitful meeting with chairmen of councils, governing councils of all the polytechnics. They were summoned to Abuja with the rectors over this strike. And you could see the seriousness with which the chairman, they went to Aso Rock that same day to report that case to the president. So I think that before long, I want to believe that strike will be... So what exactly would you be telling your students who are wasting their time away at home, hoping and praying that this issue is resolved? What exactly would you be telling them at this time?
They have to exercise some patience, because the struggle is not just for us as workers, but it's also in their own interest. And we want to appeal. It's quite sad, because for 3 months now, they're supposed to be a semester. It's about 3 months. So they are supposed to have covered or almost covered a semester. And unfortunately, they're at home. We don't like it. But what, as I said earlier, what we are looking for is the survival and development of the polytechnic system. And if the government assists to our demands now, we feel that a lot of success will have been achieved.
All right, Mr. Austin Oko, Chairman, Senior Staff
Association.
Oh, it's actually association. Okay. Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Polytechnics, SANIP, Yaba chapter. Thank you very much for coming on the program, and thank you very much for your contributions.
Thank you.
Still ahead, we will find out what Polytechnic students themselves make of this strike and that perceived discrimination against their graduates. Stay with us. Welcome back. Joining me on the program right now are 2 Polytechnic students. Olaruwaju Balogun is the president of the Student Union Government of Lagos State Polytechnic, otherwise known as LASPOTECH. And Babalola Afiz Adio is the president of the Student Union Government of the Yaba College of Technology, also known as Yaba Tech. Guys, welcome on the program.
Thank you very much.
Let me start with you, Olaruwaju. Tell me what you make of this strike. You surely must be unhappy about what is going on.
Yes, definitely I'm not happy. The whole students are not happy. We are not happy because for days now, for months now, we've been at home. We were told that there are some demands that the ASOP, the Association of Polytechnic Lecturers, are requesting from the federal government, like 15 demands, I guess. But I don't think that should keep us at home till now.
And if those demands are that huge, 15 of them, it means it might be difficult for the government to be able to meet all 15, and that could be bad news for you guys. It means you may have to spend some more time at home.
Yeah, so far we are not happy. And I think this is one of the avenues for us to fight against it. So we are not happy.
Babalola, tell me how bad you feel, because not quite long ago at Yaba Tech, the whole school completely deserted, and we understand some of you were actually getting ready for your exam when this strike actually happened.
Actually, the information reached us on the 15th of April, and that was when the Yaba Tech students are preparing for their examinations. And so far so good. The college management has to deem it fit to make sure that students have their academics on ground. But along the line, we still need to come in place in terms of the strike. But all students are not they are not happy about the situation of the strike, because I don't see a reason why the students will not be able to have a correlation with the lecturers in agitating for the rights. These are some of the things that is going to state the reasons why the students are expected to be on campus. And so far so good. Being the student union president, I believe that what the lecturers are agitating for is their right, not a privilege. So what is expected to be right should be right, not privilege.
So that's the point. You guys are in support of what the lecturers are asking for. You are in support of the strike, so to speak, even 100%. Though it's not a positive development.
100% in support.
Now, one of the issues raised by this lecturer is very, very germane, and it's something that affects you as students and those who have graduated before you, Polytechnic students, the issue of discrimination. Tell me how bad you feel. I'm starting with you, Olaraju. How bad do you feel about the issue of discrimination? And do you really think that there's any form of discrimination at all against Polytechnic graduates in the country at the moment?
Yeah, so far so good. From the history of Polytechnics and BSc, that is the degree as far as the university is concerned, it has never been something that gives us joy. Because we discovered that at the end of the day, when you graduate, as an HND holder, you discover that in the end, you face more challenges than the BSc students. But then, when you go out there for jobs, you discover at the end of the day, you are being discriminated upon. Because
have you seen any Polytechnic graduate who says he or she has been discriminated against?
Thousands of them. Thousands of them. Most of our graduates are not happy out there when they go to the labor market. They are not happy because they have been discriminated about. Sometimes when you go there for jobs, they will tell you, okay, if you are BSc holder, stay like this. If you are HND holder, stay like this. If you are ND holder, stay like this. And we discover at the end of the day, we face more in school than what they face in the university. So we are not happy about it. We are not happy at all.
Give me your take, Babalola. Give me your take on this issue of discrimination. Just how serious do you think it is?
It's a, let me call it, heavy load on HND graduates. I don't see a reason why HND graduates should be discriminating from the BSc graduates, because we are on the same level, on the same cadre of academics. For instance, in every governmental settings, there is always a segregation stipulating that HND graduates and BSc graduates should come into play. And all these things are some of the things that still narrowed down, even to the lower level. I don't see a reason why there should be segregations. For instance, if you know that there is no need of being a polytechnic in the country, then they should scribe it out and let us face the battle that, yes, this is what we want, BSc graduates. Even if you look at the higher level of dictators in the country, most of these people are BSc graduates. So, and they are also part of the lawmakers. So what do you expect? They will also be looking for the way to make sure that BSc graduates are making hedge over the HND graduates.
I know you guys are still in school. Yeah. Do you have any fear at all that when you graduate eventually that you'll be discriminated against at the workplace when you go to look for a job?
Well, actually, I, as a person, I believe in being versatile. I'm versatile in nature. So I believe wherever area I meet myself, I will make sure that I create a positive impact in that area. And I will let them understand that being an HND graduate, there is a lot of benefits, a lot of virtues that it attached to it. Because I know that a lot of things that I've been able to experience while I'm in school, even while I leave the school, because even by the training that I'm into, being a building profession by training, so I'm very, very much sure that even the BSc graduates, if you come to practical, we are the ones that are the front liner.
Let me come to you, Olaraju.
Okay.
Your lecturers have said part of the reasons they're on strike is that there's poor funding for Polytechnic, that you go to the laboratories, you don't find equipment. You go to, you go to places where you go to the classrooms, you don't have the basic facilities in place. Tell me, how bad is this at the Polytechnic level now in terms of facilities for learning? How bad is it? Because you see this every day, you experience it in class, everywhere. Is it really that bad?
Yeah, it's that bad. It's very, very bad in the sense that, okay, let me just cite an example. Last week, the speaker of the student union of my school had an issue with them at the medical department of the school. And the cause of the issue was that there was no drug. There has been no drug in the school clinic. It's so bad that most times when we agitate for fund in the school, before the management, we tell them, okay, we want to do this, we want to do that. At the end of the day, they will tell us, okay, the school or the state is not funding them. Although it's a state-owned school, there's no fund. And sometimes when you go to libraries too, we actually had a protest on the 14th of February. That's for Valentine's Day. And the reason was because we discovered that some of our students received lectures under the tree, which is so bad.
In this age and time?
Yes, this age and time, yes. So bad. Although there are some of the buildings, there are some buildings that were being built by the state government. That's the fractional regime. Or most of these buildings are just there. There are no furnitures. Some of them, you just say, okay, you just see the foundation. That's the only thing you see for like 2-3 years. You tell you, okay, don't worry, manage this class. You have to leave this class for another department to come in to come and see their lectures.
There could be some kind of discrimination too when it comes to development of higher institutions. The government, whether state or federal government, may be concentrating more on the universities than it is.
Yes, they are concentrating more on the universities than the polytechnics, and we are not happy about it. They should also concentrate more on us, because you discover that the practical they do at the polytechnic level, you cannot compare it to what they do at the university level. Like me now, I'm a final year student, and I study like 9 courses. But compare me to another underwriter, because I study insurance, another underwriter from the university studied like 5 courses. So I just wonder why they still continue to discriminate. Because what we face at the university, at the polytechnic, is you cannot even compare it to what they face at the university. I think they have all the facilities.
Is that the case for you as well, Babalola?
Well, I'm also in the same trend, because the workload is just too much. I don't see a reason why a polytechnic student will be loaded with a lot of coursework just because they want to meet up with the criteria.
And yet you're still being discriminated against.
Honestly, of recent, I heard that ASU are also on strike, and looking at the point of view, there is intervention of NLC. So to let you know that that strike is a strike that is well known to people, the populace of the cities of the country. But now the Polytechnic have been on strike. Even some parastatals are not even aware. Even the TV stations are not even aware. So I don't see a reason why all those things are still expecting to be happening in this ancient period of ours.
All right. I want to thank you guys for coming on the program, and thank you very much for your contributions. And let's just hope this issue is resolved amicably and that you get back to the classroom very fast. Yeah. Thank you very much. Well, that's it on DEJI360. We thank you very much for watching. I am DEJI360. We'll see you next week.